All right, guys, so we just watched Dracula 3000.
You made us watch this.
A 2004 comedy horror film starring Casper Van Dien. You got Coolio, Tiny Lester. Lister?
It's Lister.
Lister.
I said Lester in one of our previous reviews, and once I saw this, I was like, I'm learning your name now. And
I think
Lister.
I've butchered his name since Friday. So you've got these crazy characters here, and
so I believe I said like creature features. Let's watch something with like like vampire, something like classic or whatever.
Yes.
And you said I know the exact film to torture you with. And whatever, and you said Dracula 3000, and I'm like, well, I've heard of 2000. What's 3000 in space? And you were like, yes. And here we are. Vampires in space, which is on that box. It's not like a spoiler to say that there's vampires in space. All.
So a quick non-spoilers thoughts on the movie. You like it? Didn't like it?
Had you seen this like a long time ago?
I saw it when
it
came out.
Cherished thing for you back in 2004.
Yes.
Okay. Is it like a beloved movie to you? I want to know how harsh I should be on it.
So I will say this movie isn't good, but I really like it, and I don't have a lot of arguing points as to why I like it so much.
Sure.
I like Casper Van Dien, great. You have these characters that are iconic. You're like, oh, you were in Friday. Oh man.
No. Like you're a huge
You're
Casper.
saying Gangster's Paradise. So this is great.
You're a huge Casper Van Dien fan. Coolio's in this, right? Tiny Lister's iconic. A few other people are vaguely familiar.
Yeah,
with
you're the girl from Baywatch. All right.
Like you look like somebody, right? So I understand that angle. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's technically bad for like these reasons. I can concentrate on like specific things. I did not like this movie for various reasons that we'll get into in the spoiler section. But would you recommend this?
Oh, highly. I highly recommend this movie.
Okay.
I think it's really fun. I think it has an interesting spin on vampires that no one, I think, has done before, and I think is a really great way of going about it. We'll go into that in spoilers. I think that this is probably Casper Van Dien at his like peak coolness looking.
Peak Van Dien.
Like this is like right in the pocket of where like he was. I'm like, oh man, they should do more things. Like,
did he do more things?
Oh, he's done many things.
I mean, like in his prime.
Yeah, he's done a couple things.
Like
in his
a young
prime.
Casper Van Dien in his prime.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of like athleticism to facial hair that sets up your Casper Van Dien.
He's rocking a very aggressive looking stubble in this. I do agree with that.
He's got a vest with a collar. This man's got it going.
Okay, we'll get into it in spoilers. I just want to say, like, it introduces a couple of cool things that I do not think it pays off on, and I think, like, this is bad good. It has certain elements that are funny in different ways. I actually think Coolio's performance is stupendous in this, so if you're wondering about Coolio, and maybe you saw him in something else, and you're like, you care about Coolio after this. You care about him. He's a real boy. He actually does a performance that I think is really cool. But at the end, it's so, like, not satisfying or something like that I can't recommend this to people, except as like an archaeological, like sociological study of like these people, this movie, what it was doing at this time or something like that. Right?
Yes, it's a movie that like almost couldn't get recreated. Like
no, they don't make computers bad enough anymore to like render some of these things. Oh, we're teasing so many things. I can't wait.
All right, guys. So if you've seen this or don't care, follow us over spoilers, and if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, guys, so here we are for the spoiler review of Dracula 3000. So you've said you don't like it, but give me some deep drive.
We can go into like the play-by-play of some stuff, but overall, right, like everything is bad. I don't know what else to say. And like sometimes, like you know, you make the fair point, like, well, yes, technically this is bad, or like cinematographically, like a person who went to school would say this is bad, but it's good for some other reason.
There was one Dutch angle.
No.
This movie's got it.
No, but like there was a point I jotted down some notes or whatever, and I'm like, it's just Dutch angles and like digital slowdown, like on like the technical end, like I don't want to shit on you personally, so I'm gonna look over here. I'm just gonna be like the sets are bad, the acting's bad, the script is bad, the effects are bad, the story's bad, like everything is bad.
What did you think? Like, so the sets are bad, but
Yeah.
what they're in, like, it's a factory or a warehouse or something, like,
I guess,
for any of the large things,
Right.
or maybe they're in like a like World War II Russian ship.
There's just like PVC piping and everything's everything's very big.
Hey! Don't leave me here! Don't leave me here!
Like it's
so big, but when you
yeah.
see the scale of the problem is you don't ever see the interior of their ship, the mother.
You see like a very tight shots, right?
Yeah,
It's very
so you don't
fake,
really you can see what it is relative to that ship.
This ship is massive, and there are only 6 of us.
And you
Right.
know that it is the mother lode of a score.
Yeah, like,
but
I
I
know-
was like, how big is this ship? Because like some of
Yeah.
those rooms where like they're walking around, it's like we're in the paper factory now. Like it's a giant fucking room.
And like, you know,
But I do feel the opposite, where I think I like that quality of set, where
Okay.
there's something to be said for just being in a location, even if it's a bad one, because nowadays you don't get like fun like shit movies like this anymore.
I thought it was like a factory. It felt like a factory. And
Yeah, there's a mix to me of
Yeah.
like maybe 20% is we built something.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know what they found. And like
Yeah.
and built could be as simply as like, oh, you're in Coolio's little smoking hangout
No,
room.
I was
That's
just-
a park bench, a poster for surfing, and a surfboard.
I was just gonna
And you're
say,
like, where is that on the ship? What is that?
Coolio's bunk is made of cardboard. Obviously, the one wall is just fake thing. No, like, and this is like too nitpicky because I was just trying to say everything is bad. I didn't like the sets as much because, and this is too nitpicky. I'm gonna be upfront about that. Like in space, right? You expect stuff to be either functional or cramped or whatever, and they had like submarine-y doors.
You're forgetting
but,
dirty and wet. That's a subsection of 80s,
with
90s
like,
space.
with like wires hanging out and stuff happening and control panels and things or whatever. And this, it's bad because it doesn't fit that, nor does it like subvert that by showing you like, oh, it is like a factor. It just weird
Yes.
PVC pipes, but like submarine doors, but big bright rooms. And I'm like, it's about vampires, dog. It's like a horror movie. Like, why is everything so bright and like cardboard? Like, why don't we do like just by turning down the lights and making it creepy and cut to a shot of like something dripping and then cut back to like a right?
I'm out of here. Whatever, dude.
I
Something.
definitely hear your criticism of what you mean there, but something about the colors and the brightness and the weirdness is very 2000 like
okay.
2006.
I've got it.
Of low budget movies.
I didn't hate it in a vacuum.
Okay.
Space. No, just like how it fits, and that's kind of my complaint about like a lot of stuff is like I could see a movie be just banging, awesome, good, funny, hilarious. If you take Coolio's performance, if you take like, oh, Dracula's there, and he's like wearing like a red and black cape like a Dracula, but it's the year 3000.
It's
like,
so dumb that
what's
it's
going?
great though.
Yeah, but
Good evening, my dear.
Who are you?
You are the most beautiful creature I've ever seen.
like in a movie that like embraced that more
Whenever
and was
he
trying
comes
to be
out of
outlandish.
a coffin, he explodes out of it.
Or a lot.
And luckily there's 50, at least that's what it says on the box.
Yeah.
Which,
Dubious.
but the little
count
things
in
like that.
post.
There's one scene where a camera is like walking backwards through this
Yeah,
whole
that's
structure.
that ending where it's
And-
like
Yes, and that's like a full-on boat or something. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm like, okay, so like they had access to a couple of things
Right.
here and there.
We are here to set you. We are here to set you.
They had like the paper factory. If they would have explained that ship as like a mobile manufacturing or something, but like
Yeah.
they say it's just a freighter. Like it's
Yeah,
just it's not. It doesn't look like what it is designed to be.
That's
so many
kinda my,
catwalks and huge things
Yeah.
with nothing around them. It's like, why are there these catwalks
Yeah.
around nothing?
Like if you think about, and it feels weird to compare it to like good things or whatever, but in like a Star Trek movie or like the Serenity or whatever, right? Where you're doing something, there's like a cargo hold and it has cargo in it, and then they're
Yeah.
smuggling a thing, and it's like, oh, what's all this cargo? These coffins were just like on the ground in a big
Yes.
room.
Psychedelic. is nothing but a bitch.
And again, I'm not here to criticize this movie for like, that isn't how space works.
Like they had to be brought in one by one and put on the ground. They're not palletized.
And if something happens, they would also and just start like crashing into each other. Like they're not like secure. And like I'm not saying I loved the movie, but those coffins weren't properly stowed.
While we're talking about the coffins, though, they're full of like a good majority of them are full of sand.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of myths and things about vampires where they have to be buried in like the dirt of their native land and things like that.
Neat.
And they didn't allude to anything along these lines, so I'm like, am I to believe the body in there turned to sand?
That was my
Were they
take.
staked? Was he just smuggling these empty coffins because he knew as he bit people they would need a coffin and added weight because that way when they feel the one that has him in it, it doesn't feel like, why is this one heavy? Like I was like, okay.
That is more thought
I put a lot of things
than anybody has ever given to this.
The coolest part in the vampire mythos that this movie has portrayed that I've never seen done this way before is that the vampire dies from a wooden stake to the heart, but when the vampire's stake is pulled back out, he's alive again. The whole vampires in space element is fantastic because you're losing so much of the things that could hurt you.
Yeah.
So like it's like, well, assuming wood is the only thing that through the heart that kills you, because we didn't display decapitation as a thing in this. We really only went for that. Yeah. They guns didn't do it, and he was riddled with lasery bullets.
Stop wasting bullets.
But being in space and knowing that there's no sun necessarily around you, and especially if you are origin Earth. And it is our sun at its timeline of life that is what kills you, not any orbiting star.
Exactly.
That's super awesome just to be off of Earth and be like, okay, I can't be killed from that.
Different sunlight that has different effects. I had the same thought. I have a whole section in my notes about like wasted opportunities this movie fucking dropped the ball on or whatever.
Well, and then bullshit science of like, 50 years ago they were using real wood.
But it has to be organic wood, not this synthetic wood product they're passing off as real these days. And it must be through the heart.
A pool cue?
Precisely. 2950, they were still using organic wood for cues.
What you're saying in the year 2000 or 2990, like 5 or whatever.
2953.
It was like, oh, you were using wood then, but mere 50 years later, we only use the fake stuff.
And that guy knowing, well, yeah, back then they would have been real wood, but now it's not. Like, why do you know what they make pool cues out of?
He's the professor. He's been on Jeopardy.
He knows everything. He's Jeopardy contestant extraordinaire. Yeah. Vampires in space is a great idea, and it intrigues me greatly. Yeah. And you could have like we have an android person, cyborg person who like the vampire does not bite. That's dope. You could also have aliens that have different blood, maybe more or less desirable. Maybe when they turn into a vampire, something crazy happens. But if you don't want to go aliens, right, to your point.
Xenomorph bite,
no, but like you could have standard like Star Trek-y aliens that are barely different, but their like chemistry is really different, and the virus reacts differently. Get yourself like a Resident Evil boss, or make it just be fatal and they can't turn, or so you think, until the climactic thing when he comes out and he's all messed up. I don't know. There's all these ideas. Sunlight's another great one, like you were talking about. Different stars could have different light. You could have an awesome scene where they like pull open like the bay doors, and then the vampire's fine, and they're like, oh god, we like filter out solar radiation. It doesn't count as like real light. Like fuck. There's so many things. Yeah. I sat there thinking of all these better movies the whole time I'm watching this movie because they don't do any of that stuff.
They do the ball dropping of having the android, and you're like, okay, well it's an android. You can't bite an android. It doesn't have blood, but it like. For whatever reason, Dracula, or Olaf as they call him, Orlok, whatever, gives up all his secrets as if like, what he may have done to a Coolio type character, like, oh, you're going to be my blah, 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 this and that forever, and then bite him. That happens off camera, so we don't see that. But it almost happens on camera with this one where he gets really close and it's not like, oh, I don't smell blood. Oh, what are you? He doesn't bite it and then realize it's not blood. He somehow tells her everything and then leaves.
He's about to do the bite maneuver and then it cuts.
What I need is blood.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they show her neck, and maybe she has self-healing powers that they didn't show, but presumably he doesn't bite her.
Right, he realizes or he's touching her or something like that. That's a whole other thing. I thought of like 50 things there, because she used to be a pleasure bot.
I wasn't always a narc, you know.
You weren't?
Not until they upgraded my program.
Upgraded your program?
Before that, I was a Proteus 3.2 PB.
PB?
Pleasure bot.
right?
Yeah.
And like Dracula has like weird seduction powers when vampires are like supernatural, they do this thing, and women are like whatever, right? And maybe he's Coolio's his like familiar or something like that, and now he's trying to seduce her, and she plays along with it, and they're like, what the hell? How could he have done that to you though? You're not. And she's like, I was to be a pleasure bond. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10. This is great.
But yeah, it does not do any of that.
No.
It does subvert the expectation where you have your leading man, your Casper Van Dien, who is a Van Helsing.
Yes.
In this great plot, and like, oh, it's predestined. You were gonna be here, and this is gonna happen, and like he gets covered with some like watered down blood, and is turned into a vampire.
This is an element that I liked. When he opens his eyes and they're red, he has the contacts in, and he's like, and like
I like the red contacts.
That's awesome.
They look really good on Coolio.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
he played it off a lot better.
Everything looks good on Collio.
Going somewhere, Wheelie boy?
This is prime Coolio. This is before like he lost his hair and didn't have the twists anymore. And
yeah, he has a whole like weird mohawk of his braided hair or whatever in this.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
I was a big fan of Coolio.
No, like Casper Van Dien becoming a vampire is like a great like twist or whatever. The guy in the wheelchair being a vampire, not such a great twist.
What the hell?
Well, and him dying how? He gets stabbed a few times with a metal crucifix, and that killed him.
That's where what little the movie has is like already like starting to come off the rails and like not track anymore.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, and he's like, how'd you know? And she's like, I didn't. And you're like, that's even worse then. That's like not a cool line.
Yeah, that's your robot murderer. Isn't your first directive not to hurt humans?
You're just a robot murderer now.
They should have turned the corner, and he should have been like brooding against the wall, standing.
Yeah, right.
And it would have been like, what the hell?
Because again, like the movie was like intentionally brushing up against awesome things and then like abandoning them.
Yeah, because
it was
the professor almost gave in to him.
Yeah,
because he's like, I'm gonna walk again.
I'm not going to kill you. Take my hand and walk with me for all eternity. Walk. That's right. Come with me.
I was so cucked by this whole movie. We're like, yes, that's the movie. That's like Event Horizon, where it's like real-ass Dracula seducing everyone in like different ways. They don't respect you. I respect you. And Tiny Lister's like, Lister is like, oh, you're right. With his eye, right? And I'm like, oh, like that could be the whole thing. Is he's working in the shadows, on this crew, trying to get them to like come over to him, like willingly. Yeah. Maybe there's something about it has to be willing, or that whole like inviting people in thing. There could be so many things you could do with a vampire in space that they're not doing.
Yeah. No, and like it for dropping the balls where it could have had these set up, that's bad. It doesn't really have great dialogue. It doesn't like
I can forgive
vaguely
that.
Racist things happen at the when Casper Van Dien says like, I keep you around because you're big, black, and ugly, or something.
Because you're big, dumb, and black.
Yeah, like something like that.
And Ty Lister's like, Casper Van Dien, I will kill you. Like he just literally.
Hey, Cap, I thought you said we could.
Hey, Hummer.
Yes, boss.
I put up with your shit because you're big, black, and ugly.
Here we go again.
But one of these days, I'd love it if you just learned to take an order and shut the fuck up.
Hey, that's one of my other like general notes. And this again, like now I want the movie to be like an award-winning, actual good movie, right? This is not required.
It has a lot of potential just from the elevator pitch of the movie.
But it's the year 3000.
Yes.
All right. People don't know who God is.
It's a crucifix.
I thought they'd been those 200 years ago, man.
Yeah, but that didn't mean everybody gave it up. He probably felt like he needed God's help.
All right, people don't know what vampires are.
Well, they don't know what crosses are. They knew what God.
She says, "Who's God?"
Hey, who's God?
Nobody.
Well, but Coolio said, like, I had an uncle that believed in God.
Supposedly, I had a grand uncle who believed in God, but I can't say I ever met anybody who did.
Like,
okay, in general, people don't believe.
yes.
People don't
Well,
even know.
They said what, outlawed 200 years ago or something.
Crucifixes were, or
Yeah.
like whatever. The android, who should be programmed with all of humans' knowledge, it says, "Who's God?" Casper Van Dien seems to kind of know about God or whatever.
I can see that being the ignorant robot thing that you get sometimes.
It is not a widely known thing. They call them like those metal plus signs. People don't know about God anymore.
What's that?
Metal plus sign. Okay. This dude was into mathematics. That explains everything.
You need so much help.
Right? It's the year 3000, okay? People don't know about vampires at all, even though there should be books and literature. Captain Picard's reading Moby Dick.
I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
Moby Dick brought me to this dead stump I stand on now.
And yet, African-American racism is still alive and well in the year 3000. If only for some awkward comedy that doesn't even work.
There was something else like that where I was like, he says he didn't know this, but then knew this. And I was like, wait a minute, what?
They have to like look up the Van Helsing thing, and they're like reading Bram Stoker's Dracula like on a telescreen.
What do you got? There's a plethora of information here, Captain. Good. We want to know how to kill him.
And yet, brothers gotta stick together. It's still, maybe that's a cynical joke, and it's like coming all the way back around again. But I was like, that's super dumb. You can't expect me to believe people don't know what a cross is, but they are racist.
Transylvania being a planet.
Yeah. And the Carpathian Galaxy. Carpathian? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, was that the, Rocky Horror Picture Show, they call it the Transylvania Galaxy or something like that. But the Carpathians are like a vampire alien species.
Yeah.
Is that from Life Force or is that from something else? I've heard that before.
But what's weird is Transylvania is a planet, but his history of being the last vampire, he was on Earth in the 1800s. Like, it's this weird thing where, like...
He emigrated to his own planet, which he named Transylvania.
Well, no, it would have been the opposite.
And now it's 1,000 years.
Like, if he was, like, I wonder...
You're saying that he was actually an alien and he went back to his home planet of Transylvania where Udo Kier...
We departed Transylvania station last night at 2200 hours and not one moment too soon.
Transylvania? Where the fuck is Transylvania?
Picked him up, for his cargo freighter because he bribed him?
That is my guess, yes.
Okay. I guess that's the most reasonable interpretation of the events.
He's potentially been on Earth for so long that he's the reason it's called Transylvania, that part of Romania.
Sure.
And has worked his way back once Earth has met the stars and can actually transport things. He went back there. And somehow there's a spaceport there, though, on this dead planet.
But wasn't he taking him from Planet Transylvania and not to Planet
Transylvania? Yeah, he was
Transylvania?
taking him from.
Right. So that's even weird. So, again, really, really quick, just have him, some crazy duke bribed me to take him to the Carpathian system. It's so dumb, right? Yeah. And then we have this undertone of, like, Dracula's really an alien and he's trying to go home. That's awesome. But now it's all flipped and weird and doesn't work, and the coffins are just sitting on the floor.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What's the former captain of the ship's name?
Udo Kier.
Yeah, that guy's always a treasure. I also love that every movie that ever has space travel always has the worst cameras ever as like their log things.
Yeah, he's like,
and I'm like, what
Captain's
are we talking
log.
about here?
And it has like added scan lines to be like a thing.
June 3rd, 2950. We have experienced engine difficulty and are running at quarter speed.
They even say
it's
like
VHS tape that's been recorded over 100 times.
The captain would have left a vid log. Let's go watch that or whatever. Yeah. So interspersed throughout the film is Udo Kier, also a vampire in Blade, also a vampire in something else. Yeah. Sometimes like a mercenary or a terrorist or a cop or whatever, right? A character actor.
He was in Ace Ventura, right?
Glad you could make it.
Thank you.
You look wonderful.
Yeah. He's the man.
I think he got a great voice.
I had to look up his name, and I know it for today only, so I'm going to keep saying Udo Kier.
Yeah.
Kier? I don't know his name. I made that up. So throughout the whole thing, the audience is shown this captain's like struggle and plight as he was dealing with, everyone's in their quarters and I've done this and it's all quarantined because the thing.
I have implemented strict quarantine procedures and confined myself to quarters.
And you're like, okay. And then they like sync that up where he at the end, because what happens is the self-destruct thing was terminated, and now he's a desiccated skeleton man, and in his office or whatever. 50 years later, space, whatever. And so now we like sync it up where his last vidlog plays as Tiny Lester is banging the hell out of that bot.
Yeah.
And they go into the sun.
Udo's arc didn't make a whole lot of sense to me toward the end.
Captain, it's something weird about this dude's bindings, man. I mean, it's like he tied himself to the chair.
What would make him do that?
Why did he tied himself up so he couldn't like give in to the siren's call? Like, what exactly was the thing there? Because seemingly Dracula like can't open doors. That seems to be like, out of his wheelhouse. Especially now that he's down one arm. He loses an arm in the last act of the movie.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why he tied himself up and how he tied himself up so efficiently.
I don't know what's going on. I blacked that part out.
There's a lot of things that don't make sense in this movie, but I keep coming back to it's a fun ass movie. I've probably seen this 10 times.
Let's talk about a good thing in the movie.
Sure.
Let's talk about Coolio.
Coolio.
Do you agree Coolio is good? That's my favorite part of the movie. Is Coolio.
I like Coolio in most movies.
Okay. I feel like I saw him in one or two other things and I was underwhelmed.
He's often underwhelming.
Okay, I thought
I
he
still
was
like him.
I thought he was whelming in this.
Ain't none of y'all bitches getting out of here alive.
I was super happy. It's a way over the top.
There are some choices that Coolio makes that I'm like, oh, he's not phoning it in here.
That's what I mean.
Like when he's in full lackey mode in the coffin room with Dracula, and he like makes some noise, I'm like, oh, okay, and then he like scampers away.
Gladly.
He jumps up on that coffin like doing Midsummer Night's Dream. He jumps up there and has like a squat pose. He goes, "Master," and does the whole thing. Like he is leaning in so hard. He is shamelessly into this role.
Master, you have summoned me?
Rise, my son.
What is it you want of your humble and loyal servant?
I was so happy to see this.
I can't say enough bad things about Dracula though. That guy sucks.
Oh my God!
Like, who's that guy? He sucks.
What do you want? Darkness. Infinite darkness.
He's like, he reminded me of the dude from True Blood, Eric, whatever, but like the most boring, flat,
he's more like Bill
worst
to me.
version. Take your pick.
I will.
I mean visually. I don't mean his character. Because there is no character. It's so dumb.
Yeah, he's wearing like old school Dracula in space, and like has not adapted with the times at all. Like that's not a survival trait.
Like that has potential. You can do full-on Dracula. You can do a thing where he wakes up and he's like the crypt keeper and he's crawling around and he slowly builds himself back up, and then in the finale you realize, oh, he went into there and got this like black and red thing and he's turned it into his cape and he's done this and he has his finger, his like pointy finger thing that all Draculas have that he must have had
that he
in
didn't
his
use
skull.
at all.
So soft. It's so...
He like rubs it on someone's thing for a minute.
He should have been
it's so dumb.
like slashing throats because he's like like humorously running like around through the corridors.
Yeah.
You're like, what is he doing? What is the point of that?
He's like Phantom of the Opera guy. He does the cape and the dash, I think, the maneuver. It's so... I'm like, this does not work. It could work. You could have a really funny Vampires in Space movie where that's the joke, is that the vampires are like, yes, blah, the blood, and then everyone else is like, and has like a... Right? That could be funny. That's not what this movie is.
No, and like... There's a lot of like stupid things in the movie, like that. What was the girl's name? Like Mia or Mina or whatever.
The navigator.
Yeah.
The intern navigator.
So like from the jump, I'm like, I hate her.
She's bad.
They're in like these homemade air suits. that just looks so bad.
Not
that
homemade.
have so much exposed skin.
Not homemade on the spaceship. Let's be clear. Homemade by the crew of Dracula 3000.
Yes. Yeah,
With
they're like
it's like a scuba mask and some Home Depot,
pipe that may or may not be duct taped at its joining points. It just looks terrible. So like from the jump, I'm like not a fan of her character.
Yeah.
And then how she dies, she like gives the whole like look left, look right. There's nothing, eh? And then gets like taken out, and you're like, oh, of course, you're an idiot.
See? Nothing.
Which is supposed to, like, those attempts at humor or at, like, not taking itself seriously, like, to your point, Casper Van Dien's playing this cool, like, the movie was either trying for some 500 IQ, like, amazing take on this and couldn't execute it at all, or it's, crazy lazy, right? You're saying, or it's just like, I don't know, dog, it's, Coolio's only here for one more day, guys, let's figure this out. And it's just this mess, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm so sad.
And it's an inconsistency of like, does being a vampire mean you're a superhuman? Because he like throws Tiny like he's nothing. But then he gets thrown back, and I'm like, okay, so it doesn't work like both ways. I understand you didn't gain mass, but like you've gained strength, so you either can hold your ground or you can't. Like,
and again, everything I'm going to say is going to have this structure. They do this, which makes me think that. However, the movie doesn't do this well, right?
Yeah.
So you have who you later find out. We don't know Android Lady's an android.
Until
first.
the end.
So she like sets the dude's broken leg, and it kind of for me was a hint that something's up. Because like they're like, well, Casper Van Dien's not volunteering. They wanted Tiny, the muscle, to do it. So maybe she is extra strong.
I'll do it. Hold him down.
You do it yourself, Wonder Woman.
Thanks.
No sweat.
Then she's an android, and I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get is it Jason X, the scene where the android lady has to fight the monster and all that stuff? I was like, we're getting that scene. And what happens in the finale? She's banging on the door like, Tiny, get out here. Let's we need your help.
Open this door, you idiots!
Go away.
Listen to me. Van Helsing needs your help now.
Well, you go help him.
Humvee, come on.
Nobody's home.
As if she's not.
I think. Well.
Even if she's,
I think it's almost a mistake where I don't think she actually is super strong at all.
Even if she's not any stronger?
And I think the programming overrides her ability to do anything too, because she gets freaked out by a dead body.
That's disgusting.
I don't get it.
What?
Why do you do that?
Do what?
React like that to a dead body. I thought you things were programmed to be emotionless.
I've done exactly what I've been programmed to do.
She's not a robot.
Okay.
She has all the emotions of like a frail sex bot spy.
She's a
in a person.
Or whatever. Okay, even if she's not any stronger though, she's immune to being like taken
over. That's
over.
what's funny too. When Tiny's like, "I'll go first." He doesn't want your blood.
Yeah.
What?
You wait here.
No way.
He doesn't want your blood.
He's still scary.
I hear you.
So she'd be
wouldn't that make you go first?
So she'd be safe in the hallway. So Tiny doesn't have to look behind him and be like, "Are you okay?" Yeah.
I guess. I'd
also,
be like,
he may
go
not.
forward. We don't have any more wood. Take this gun. See what happens.
He may not want your blood, but if you're like an obstacle towards him accomplishing his goals, I assume he would tear you in half.
You think?
Right?
But seemingly Dracula wasn't even that strong because he couldn't fight them to open the door.
I am pulling.
Like
no, and like okay, Tiny. That again to my point of like she must be super strong, right? Because like they okay. You have like a
They
submarine
severed his arm and the fabric.
with a door that is a thick, heavy like door. Just Tiny Lister and Android Lady pulling on it while his arm's blocking it. It eventually just pops and the arm falls off. That's insane. If it was mid-swing of this big heavy door, I would have believed it. But we have zero momentum.
Also,
it's
Tiny
like
is all the way on the inside of the wedge. He's not even on the part that would make sense for
the most leverage or whatever. Okay.
He is in the area for the least leverage with a fully extended arm. Like, it's not how you do
the
it.
shot doesn't line up or whatever. Yeah.
No.
But again, that would be fine. Well, because Tiny also fights off Dracula, to your point.
Yeah.
He's trying to bite him, and he ends up just shoving him away.
Yeah.
I ain't playing with you no more.
Which is not consistent.
Tiny's a big guy.
Yes, but it's not consistent with the rest of the stuff that we
Exactly.
see.
Coolio threw him like nothing, and you know, Coolio is not the head of all vampires, so like.
And they fight.
Maybe it's like a thing where the king in chess and he's weaker than the queen. You know?
Casper Van Dien fights with Dracula for a little bit, and he says you gotta do better than that, but he doesn't say you gotta do better than that. I'm behind you suddenly.
You're going to have to do better than that.
To defend, you know, Tiny being able to beat Dracula, he does push a blunt object through Coolio's body.
Yeah.
Pool stick. Unfucking believable.
Like, that's not a sharpened stick. It was just a pool cue
The scene,
he pushed through his body.
So the blunt end of a pool cue is kind of tapered. I could see him being able to stab with enough momentum, but whoever gets the other end of the pool cue, I think, is in a bad situation. This all could have been mitigated by breaking the pool cue in a way that makes sense. They literally sawed through that pool that pool cue. When Casper Van Dien breaks it on his knee,
it's a perfect split.
It just goes.
I found one.
Now there's two.
And it just breaks. There's no like nice sharp wood action going on that I was expecting. Even something like that, they managed to like not execute properly.
When they who ended up getting stabbed against the wall? Was that
Mia does when she gets back up or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's that scene. So like they have half a pull cue and then they stab her, and the way that the camera pans out, there's like a full pull cue sticking out of her chest.
Where that other freak at?
It's also like nowhere near the heart. It's a whole thing.
That's a thing. Vampires' hearts are like the Grinch. They're like 8 sizes bigger than a normal
just
human.
this whole
so if you
zone.
hit anywhere in the upper chest, you got a kill shot.
It's just this whole.
Yeah, that's science. You don't know about that?
Yeah, down to like, you know, sub-happy trail levels. Just the whole abdomen is just your heart. That's fine.
If you're between the kneecap and the head, you got it.
You're good. That's a kill shot.
Yeah.
That's the hit zone.
This movie has a lot of faults, which we've gone over in detail. Not a lot of strong suits, but something about the faults all in a line. It's like it does make for a very enjoyable picture.
Do you think this might be nostalgia?
Well,
were you a child when you saw this?
I enjoyed it the first time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it this time, and there's many times I've picked it up and go, oh, that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
It's probably as good as it was the first time. I mean, it didn't gain any, obviously, and it didn't lose that much for me. It's a ridiculous concept, a shitty plot, but a fun movie.
What is your favorite part of this movie?
Oh, it's weird. I don't think I could name a single part that I'm like, I really like that part. It's just I like the movie.
Okay.
I like this cast, this group of iconic people that I'm like, you couldn't make this movie again exactly how, like, if you were to just pull out cast members and put new ones in there, it would never be this quaint. Like, because it would either become much worse or much better. It would never be this.
Before we get too far away, I just want to say, you're saying that the sum, it's like more than the sum of its parts, because you're adding 0 and 0 and 0 and 0 and 0, and you're getting something at the end there. Yes.
I am saying that.
I like that.
I am.
That's a good argument to make there.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Quick thing, the movie also has the audacity to like drop a few like references or something like that. This is very small, but it must be intentional, because the one the professor, the wheelchairman, who's gonna punch in like a heading or whatever, is like, oh, the like Kesselring system or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Casper Van Dien says, make it so.
What's the closest place you can get us to?
Kesselring system.
Make it so.
Aye, aye, Captain.
And I was just like, no, because we're far enough along in the movie now that I know what, you know, what, like,
Yes.
you had to put that, you know, in the beginning to earn the charm points. At that point, I was like, I'm no longer happy with you, movie. You can't do this to me right now.
Police!
But speaking of that heading, right? So they were originally drifting towards Earth. That was Count Orlok Dracula's master plan, was to get back to Earth, I guess, to do his vampiring.
Yeah, repopulate.
We're not sure if this is the original Dracula or if he's making this is the round trip. He's hitching back. He's like, I ain't paying for the space Uber to get back to Earth, right? So now they've redirected us towards, you know, a star with that, you know, that'll have light and should be able to cleanse all the vampires off, right?
That's at least the plan.
Yeah.
There are rooms that have no windows, so I don't know what their exact plan was, aside from actually running it aground.
And, you know, I don't even know with the vacuum of space. I think the light just keeps going till it hits something. So it doesn't matter, like, how close you are to a star. But
yeah,
who's to say? Who's to say? That's their plan, though. Their navigator, their pilot, their Casper Van Dien all die.
Yes,
it's
you have
just
2 people left.
Tiny Lister and the Babomatic 10,000. Yes.
Yeah, with one-armed Dracula running around free. And yes, the movie doesn't, they ran out of money and it just stopped.
But I've experienced that before in a movie where I go, I guess they ran out of money. This had like a much weirder vibe to me. You know, she says like, you know, how about getting your dick wet, Tiny? And he says, yeah, I'm down, and grabs her, and they go off.
Bingo, must be in the front row. Ain't gotta tell me twice. Come on, girl.
We don't see Dracula ever again. One-armed Dracula is just left open, and we cut to an exterior, and we got the star, we got the ship, and then it just goes and becomes an explosion, and then credits. It's over. I was like, what's happening? Oh my God.
Well, like, my assumption is that there was going to be like some sexy times. In the middle of it, one's going to be like, oh, I know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they were going to do something, and then they would have killed Dracula and got away. But instead it just explodes, the movie ends poorly, and it's just over. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
It's so nice to see you. Did I ever tell you how many times I see you and want to ejaculate all over your bazonkas? Of the times I stayed up late, high as a kite, in a non-gravitational atmosphere, while I stroked my anaconda.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition.